The West Virginia Mountaineers dropped the Utah Utes by a score of 71-69, and boy, they made me sweat. They made me sweat. They didn't make it look easy, that's for sure. But they get the job done and get a big win as they hopefully secured their spot in the NCAA tournament for this year. Before we get too far in, I want to give a shout out to my new channel sponsor here, Appalachia Digital. If you are looking for someone to build you a new website or just help you get noticed on the internet, go check out Appalachia Digital at appalachiadigital.com/Couz and let them know that Couz sent you. My new website will be up very soon, and these are the fine folks who designed it for me. Can't wait for you to see their work. Now let's get into this. I apologize. I tried to do a show earlier. We have really high winds here where I'm at home, and it's messing with the internet a little bit. So I had some internet issues there. So we're going to try this again. It's not going to be a super long show anyway because it's late. But I did want to get on here and do a show. I hadn't done one in a few days. So let's go ahead and talk about this game. First, let's talk about the way that game ended. It harkened back to, I think it was was it the Cincinnati game or maybe the TCU game? I think it was a Cincinnati game a few days ago where West Virginia was up by 9. They allowed 2 3-pointers there near the end of the game to almost allowed Cincinnati to come back and tie it at the end. Well, this game had a similar feel to it. West Virginia is up 6. Utah comes down, makes a 3 with about 3 seconds to go. West Virginia's inbounding the ball. They inbound it to Jonathan Powell. He falls down, rolls his ankle, tries to throw the ball, and throws it right to a Utah player. Kind of a freshman mistake. We'll just call it a freshman mistake that he made. He throws it to a Utah player. They lay it in. Boom, it's a 1-point ball game all of a sudden with about a second left. West Virginia does get the ball in bounds. And, the rest is history. They get fouled. They go down. They make 1 or 2 free throws. And Utah's not able to make the half-court shot at the end. West Virginia holds on to win 71-69. This game should have solidified West Virginia's spot in the NCAA tournament. Now, I will feel better and I will sleep better at night if they can go out here on Saturday and get a win over UCF in Morgantown. That would make me feel a lot better. But the way it sits right now, with the number, I think this was their 6th or 7th quad one win of the year. That should definitely get them in the tournament, especially with the weak bubble that we're seeing this year with some of these teams. Now, you never know what might happen in these conference tournaments. You may have a bunch of upsets. You may get a wild and crazy March with a bunch of conference tournaments where teams steal spots. But barring that, West Virginia should be in. But again, go out and take care of business at home on Saturday. Make sure you definitely solidify that spot. You end the season on a winning 3 of your last 4, a 2-game winning streak. You go into the Big 12 tournament feeling a lot better. May still have a shot at an 8 seed in the Big 12 tournament. I don't know where that stands at the moment. I haven't checked. But right now, things seem to be pretty good for West Virginia's chances to get into the big dance. So I feel pretty good about it. But again, I'll feel even better if they can win against UCF on Saturday, a game they technically should win. They are a better basketball team than UCF. At least they've shown that so far this year. Let's go ahead. Before we get into the stats, I want to just give my thoughts. Offensively, I really like the way this team, I thought they didn't settle this game. Past games, we've seen them settle a lot for 3-point shots. They didn't do that as much in this game. They drove the ball to the rim more. I thought they did a better job moving without the basketball. They didn't stand around what looked like their feet was in concrete. They moved around. They moved without the ball. I think they took advantage. I'll be honest with you. I did not agree with Josh Eilert's game plan here. I thought Josh Eilert should have been double teaming Javon Small on screens, on ball screens and things like other opponents have done. I felt like teams have kind of laid out a blueprint on how to beat West Virginia. You double Javon Small. You run guys at him on hard hedges on ball screens. Utah didn't do that. They were trying to play him straight up, man, one-on-one, and it gave Javon some open looks and also made it easier for him to find his teammates and get them involved. I chalk that up to coaching. I felt like Josh Eilert got out-coached in this game by Darren DeVries. And then you got to give, tip of the cap to Javon and his teammates. They stepped up and made plays. They made shots at the end when they needed to. Jonathan Powell made a couple big threes. Joe Yesufu made another big 3 tonight, something he's done a lot this year. Javon made some big shots. Tip of the cap to Eduardo Andre. The guy took a huge elbow to the nose in the first half, late in the first half. Wasn't even sure if he was going to play in the second half. He did. Comes out with Galls in both nostrils, bloody nose. Nose might even be broken, who knows? But he goes out there. He's a warrior. He's tough. He fights through it, scores some nice baskets underneath, does a good job, getting in the way and protecting the rim on defense, and pulled down some big rebounds in this game. But Eduardo Andre is just a warrior. I love what he brings to this team. Heart, hustle, effort, just embodies everything it means to be a Mountaineer, in my opinion. Yes, his stats aren't always great. He doesn't always look good out there, but, man, he does what he needs to do and does his part to help his team win ball games. Let's go ahead and we got a super chat right off the bat. Jackson Clark. Thank you, Jax. He says, refs gives Utah a timeout without possession of the ball. Horrible call. Same ref does it again, but they don't have any timeouts. Technical foul, so they call it inadvertent whistle. Jackson Clark, I was going to get to the officiating later, but, man, you make a great point. The officiating in this game they left much to be desired out there. Again, the officiating in college basketball, really in college sports in general, is really, really bad. Let's just call it the way it is. It's inconsistent. Officials make bad calls, and then they try to renege on the calls like you're talking about here. They're inconsistent with how they call the game on one end of the floor versus the other. It's just bad. And I agree that should have been a technical foul when Utah tried to call that timeout. And I felt like they really got away with one there. So I agree with you on that. And there was definitely a foul shooting discrepancy in this game, which we'll get to in a minute. And Daniel Gigax makes a great point. 18-12. This team is 18-12, double the win total from last year. That's remarkable, especially considering Tucker DeVries being out. Jaden Stone hasn't even played a game. He was supposed to be a big contributor this year. But at the end of the day, this team has proven they can still win games with the current lineup they have. And they've kind of changed they've raised their expectations, fairly or unfairly. They have raised their expectations for this season. But let's go ahead and do a quick screen share. We'll look at the stats, and as we normally do, we'll look at them, and I'll talk to the stats as we go. Utah stats on the right because they were the home team. West Virginia was 26 of 57, 45.6% from the floor, a really good shooting night for the Mountaineers. Utah was 19 of 50, 38%. Not so good a night for them. Utah shot the ball poorly. West Virginia shot the ball well. That was a difference in this game. You do have to give some credit to that West Virginia defense. I thought they did a good job on the defensive end, rotating. I thought they did a good job staying with their man, fighting through screens. This team does a really good job. I've mentioned this in past shows. They do a really good job fighting through ball screens, better than any team I've seen in a while. When you can fight through ball screens like that, it keeps you from having to switch. And when you switch, it can create mismatches for the offense. They also don't need to hedge as much. They just do a fantastic job getting through and around ball screens without going under screens as well and giving guys open looks. Really impressed with how they do that. Sincere Harris continues to be the catalyst for this defense, playing very, very hard-nosed, tough, aggressive defense, especially on the ball. Just really, really good team effort. They communicated well. They were locked in. You saw on my thumbnail, I said locked in. Not only were they locked in on shooting and defense, I think they're also locked into the NCAA tournament. But let's keep going through the stats. 3-point shooting. West Virginia was 8 of 23, 34.8%. Not fantastic, but just enough to win the game. Utah was 32% on 9 of 28 shooting. You'd like to see West Virginia get about 9 or 10 threes. That's usually a winning formula for them, as long as they play good defensively. They only got 8 tonight, but it was enough because they did a better job not settling the night, like I mentioned earlier. Free throws, they were 11 of 16, 68.8%. You'd like to see them get that above 70. Utah was 22 of 32 from three. So Utah makes 22 free throws. West Virginia attempts 16. So once again, the whistle not counting the Mountaineers tonight. But again, I don't want to blame it on that too much because this has become a trend. And I don't think you can blame the officials and the foul discrepancy game in and game out. At some point, you have to blame it on the guys guarding, not being able to guard without fouling. And now I do, that being said, the officiating was not great. I'm not saying it was great. There were definitely some whistles, in my opinion, that should have went differently towards West Virginia or for West Virginia tonight. And I thought they called some ticky-tack fouls when West Virginia was on the defensive end. But that being said, I don't want to blame anything on officiating because this has become an issue in almost every game for West Virginia. So maybe it's the way they play defense. Or they also shoot so many threes that they don't draw enough fouls on offense. I think that plays a role too. We don't want to overlook that. Rebounding, West Virginia gets out rebounded tonight by 40-31 to Utah. Not a big surprise there. Utah's a much larger team. And West Virginia, let's just face it, they're not strong rebounding the basketball. Offensive rebounding, it's 14-8 and 26-23 on defensive rebounding, all in favor of Utah. Assists, West Virginia has the edge there, 14-11. I thought they did a good job rotating with the basketball tonight offensively. Steals, 7-7. Blocks, 3 of 2 in favor of Utah. Total turnovers, Utah turned it over 16 times to West Virginia's 12. I'd like to see West Virginia get that 12 number down to below 10. Points off turnovers, 14-13 in favor of Utah, actually. Fast break points, West Virginia wins that battle 9-4. They did a good job getting back on defense, getting back in transition, something West Virginia has done for the most part, has done well this year. Points in the paint, 30-20 in favor of the Mountaineers. Why? They didn't settle for threes. That's the theme of this show. West Virginia did not settle. They got the ball in the paint more, and they made shots. And Utah actually led by as many as 12 at one point in this game. Is that right? That doesn't sound right. Anyway, it says West Virginia led by as many as 6. I don't remember Utah leading by 12 points in this game, but maybe I'm losing my mind. Anyway, all right, let's go to the individual stats. The box score. Let's look at Utah first. Shout out to Gabe Matson. Guy's a baller. 23 points, 5 rebounds, 5 of 14 from 3, 1 steal. So hats off to him. 2 other players in double figures. You had Ezra Asar with 11 off the bench. And you had Mike Shirazmans. Hope I pronounced his name right. With 12 points off the bench. He had a heck of a second half. Hats off to that young man. He played a heck of a ball game second half. He also pulled down 6 rebounds on the night and was 2 of 5 from 3. For West Virginia, Javon Small did his thing. He had 18 points to go along with 7 assists and also pulled down 4 boards. Monty Hansberry, 12 points, 2 steals, 6 rebounds, and a block. Jonathan Powell, I mentioned him, made a couple big threes tonight. He ended up with 10 points total with 3 rebounds. A good night shooting the basketball for him. Toby O'Connor ended the night with 6 points. Sincere Harris with 6 points to go along with 3 steals and 3 assists. Also had 4 rebounds. And then Toby O'Connor had 5 rebounds. And then off the bench, I thought KJ Tender played some valuable minutes tonight. Only played 9 minutes, but he had 3 points and a steal. And again, he continues to do, in my opinion, a good job on the defensive end, staying in front of his man and not giving up anything easy. He's a defensive. He's a mismatch a little bit because of his height. He's only about 6 foot tall, so guys can shoot over him a little bit. But outside of that, I think he does a pretty good job on the defensive end. Eduardo Andre played 17 minutes, 4 points, 3 rebounds, but just played a really good game. I thought he did a lot of things tonight that don't get noticed on a stat sheet. Thought he set some good screens. I thought he did a good job passing the basketball like he normally does and finding his teammates and just taking up space in the middle with his length. And then Joseph Yesufu made some big threes tonight, 2 big threes, 3 of 6 overall from the floor. Was perfect, 4 of 4 from the free throw line. Dropped in 12 much-needed points. When West Virginia has 2 guys that can score the ball outside of Javon Small, they can win ball games. Tonight it was Amani Hansberry. Actually, they had 3 tonight. Hansberry, Powell, and Yesufu. All 3 of those guys with double digits scoring, so hats off to them. So really tonight, the difference in this game, West Virginia was more efficient on offense. They made their shots. And they did a good job on the defensive end limiting Utah's scoring. That's really the 2 big differences in the game right now. West Virginia, I thought they didn't settle for bad shots. They got the ball inside more. And when they did get threes, they made them. When they got open looks from 3, they made them for the most part. And when this basketball team makes their shots, they win, typically. When they don't make their shots, they don't win. I know that sounds kind of dumb, and it sounds, like here I'm Captain Obvious here, and I sound like Bob Huggins used to sound in his old press conferences when they'd say, "Hey, Bob, what happened tonight?" And he'd say, "Can't make shots, didn't make shots." It's kind of the same with this team. They do a really good job on the defensive end, and their defense has won them some games this year. But when they really excel is when they shoot the ball well, especially from three. And when they're not shooting it from three and they don't settle, they can win. And again, I hate to keep harping on it, but that's the theme of this show. It's what I took away from this game as an observer. They didn't settle. They looked for good shots. They even got the ball inside more. WVU Fan 13 says, can we sign Small to be a player coach? LOL. Man, it would be nice, but he's probably going to be playing in a little league they call the National Basketball Association. Whip Hero says there was literally blood, sweat, and tears this game. That is a great comment. Absolutely right. Glad to see Eduardo Andres okay. It was a little bit scary. He was down on the floor for a long time. I thought maybe he might have a concussion, might be something more serious, but he was able to come back in that game and play some valuable minutes. And he is going to be sore, Kevin, for sure. Kevin thinks we're a lock. Curtis thinks, I agree, they need to get some rest. I don't know when they get that rest because they have a game Saturday, then the Big 12 tournament coming up. And then I do think they may get – do they get a week off before the NCAAs? I'm not sure how that works. Probably not. You know what? Would it actually be an advantage for West Virginia to lose their first game in the Big 12 tournament? I hate to say that because I'd like to see them do well. But would it actually be an advantage? And I think somebody actually mentioned this in the comments in one of my previous shows. Would it be an advantage for them to lose their first game so that they get a much longer rest? Basically, they'd get about a week of rest before they have to play again. Would that be an advantage for this team? Or because they're so used to a routine and playing every 3 to 4 days, do you need to keep them in that routine? Be interesting to see. I think at this point it may actually be not. I think this team's mature enough; they would be able to handle an extra long rest, and I actually think that might be better for them if they're going to get in the tournament anyway. Go out and beat UCF on Saturday, get to 19 wins, lose your first game in the Big 12 tournament. In order to get, if you're not going to win the Big 12 tournament, you may as well lose your first game, get that extra rest, and go out and have a better chance to win a game in the NCAAs. A first-round bye will definitely help WVU Fan 13 because it would at least give them one extra day of rest before they have to play. Yep, first, if DeVries can pull off a 20-win season in year one with the issues he's had and the injuries and stuff, that would be remarkable. Kevin Backus says he wishes KJ would drive more. I think a lot of good things happen when he goes down. I agree. I like it when that young man's aggressive. He has a really good floater too. He does a good job usually making that floater. Something he can use because of his short stature. Way he can get the ball up over the bigs, taller players. And I agree, Kevin. And when he doesn't do that, he's usually good at getting the ball back out to his shooters because he's not really known as a shooter. I think he can become one, but he's not there yet. Okay, let's see what else we got. That's right. They did lead 19-7. Daniel, I apologize for that. I had completely forgot about that. WVU Fan 13 says we're the top defensive team in the Big 12. That has a lot to do with the fouls. Same thing with the women's team. Depth is going to be a tough issue, Kevin. You're absolutely right. Daniel Gigak says, I think winning Saturday, getting the 19 wins locks West Virginia in. Faza says, only saw the last 2 minutes. Couldn't miss Trump slapping the Dems. Go WVU. Daniel, yeah, I get enough. I'm not going to say whether I agree or disagree with your statement, but man, I just didn't want to. I wanted to watch my boys play. I wanted to stay away from politics for a little bit tonight, but I do appreciate the comment and totally understand. Daniel Sargent in the house. He says, I'm a WVU fan. However, I thought the game was called good. Fouls are 2017. We just don't drive the ball much to get fouls called on shots. Daniel, that's a great observation. I think sometimes we have a tendency, and I'm guilty of this, we have a tendency to look at numbers and look, okay, well, wow, they got so many more free throws than West Virginia did, not realizing the context around that. Yeah, but look at the total number of fouls and look at, does West Virginia drive it to the rim? Do they shoot too many threes? All of that. Irval says, I think our guys are starting to show where we are in the season. They are worn. I don't disagree with that. They found a way to win this game tonight, man. I'm proud of them for that. A lot of bad reaching, but guys were physical. This team does reach a lot. Early on in the season, I remember watching this team and thinking, man, they reach a lot, and they're going to get a lot of reach fouls called. But what that does too, I think they're sacrificing that in order to get more deflections and more steals, because sometimes those reaches create steals too. And I think maybe Coach DeVries' philosophy is, hey, we're willing to risk some fouls, but we'll get steals as well. And I think that might be their philosophy, especially on this team where they need to try to steal possessions because they're not that good offensively and they struggle to score. So they're trying to maybe take some extra risks to steal possessions so that they can, kind of offset the poor offensive showing that they might have. Just thinking out loud. Was a good bounce back, Daniel? Absolutely. WVU Fan 13 says, looks like the basketball team could show the football team a little hard edge. And Powell has to be smarter on. Yeah, Powell's definitely got to be smarter on that. He should have. When you're falling down like that, just fall down, man. Don't throw the ball to the other team. But again, it's a rookie mistake. He's young. He'll learn from it. They'll get to watch it on film tomorrow. It ended up not hurting him any because they didn't lose the game, and he can learn from it. Andre definitely played hard edge, Whip Hero. Absolutely, he did, man. I'm so proud of that guy. Happy for that guy. I like the story they told about him never having the opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament, and that's one of the reasons he wanted to come to West Virginia, because he knew Coach Darren DeVries could get him to the NCAA tournament. I love that story, and I'm going to be so happy for that young man if and when he gets into that NCAA tournament this year. He's going to be a happy camper. Andre's last foul was a safety tackle. Crazy. Says WVU Fan 13. I love your bald head. Thank you, Quentin. Yeah, I started losing my hair at a very young age, man. I started losing my hair when I was in high school. I had the receding hairline, and in my senior picture, I already had a receding hairline. I was about 20, 21, 22, somewhere in there. I was crawling around on the floor playing with my niece at my in-laws house. My wife and I were recently married, and she said, "You need to just shave your head." I'm sorry. She didn't say that. Somebody took a picture of us crawling around on the floor. I saw the picture and looked at my wife and I said, "Am I really that bald on top? Is my hair that thin?" She said, "Yeah." And then she recommended I just try shaving my head. I did it. I liked it. She liked it. And here I am over 20 years later. Haven't had hair since. WVU can still go through their routine but get the rest as well. I hope so. I think Quentin's trolling. We'll see. Rest is rust. Ear valve. That's definitely a risk there. I mean, personally, I'd just rather see them, win the Big 12 tournament and become Big 12 champions. That'd be my preference. Yeah. Quentin, you're in timeout, I believe. At least I tried to put you in timeout. UCF is not very good, Reva. Let's go ahead. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and pull up. They might be the worst team in the conference. Let me pull it up real quick. It's a great question. Their record is 15-14 overall, and they are 6-12 in league play. They are third from the bottom in conference play. But West Virginia lost to Arizona State, who's 13-16 on the year and 4-14 in conference. So they cannot take UCF for granted. But UCF is not a very good team, and UCF is 2-7 on the road. So have not played well on the road this year at all. So West Virginia should be a pretty heavy favorite in the game. Hopefully they still realize they've got something to play for, that they're still not a 100% lock in the tournament, and they go out and ball out and play a really good game and hopefully beat UCF handily and send a message to the committee. John Kelly says that elbow Andre got was vicious. I totally agree. Jacob Yoho says Andre should get beat up player of the year. Kevin Backus says officiating was kind of messy late, but I thought was okay throughout the game. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have the Jackson Clark mentioned earlier, I thought they messed up on that technical call for sure. I thought I saw the Utah player call a timeout when Utah didn't have a timeout. That should be a technical foul. They said it was an inadvertent whistle. I don't necessarily buy that. But again, I'm biased here. Maybe the guy didn't call a timeout. But I thought the refs messed that one up. There were a couple other things I thought looked a little – but as far as the foul calls went, I didn't have a huge issue with any of them that I saw, to be honest. West Virginia just – they don't drive the ball to the basket a lot, so they're not going to get a ton of foul shots. That's what it boils down to. Timothy Green says, I remember at the beginning of the year that I said we will win 20 games or better, yet we could win 20 games, and damn it, looks like we're going to. I am very proud of our coach and our team. Timothy, hats off to you, my man, for saying that. Kudos to you. You get your flowers. The ref heard it and signaled timeout. That's what I thought I saw too. Thank you, Timothy. I appreciate that. John Kelly says, really proud of them. Utah usually wins at home. Yeah, let's go ahead and look at that, matter of fact. That's a great idea. I'm going to look at that real quick. Utah's home record, 16-4. Their overall 16-14. They're 15-4 at home. They were 1-8 on the road. So, yeah, Utah's a good home team. And West Virginia was able to go into their house and beat them. And I thought Darren DeVries out-coached Josh Eilert. I thought Eilert made a mistake by not doubling Javon Small. I think I mentioned this earlier in the show. He made a mistake not doubling Javon Small, I thought teams have given him a blueprint on how to guard Javon Small. You double team him. You hedge hard on ball screens. He tried to play him up straight up one-on-one, and I just don't think that's a formula to be successful against West Virginia and Javon Small. You've got to take the ball out of his hands as much as you can, try to force other guys to beat you. Now, tonight maybe they would have, and guys did make shots tonight, but it might not have been as easy if they weren't playing him one-on-one and playing him straight up one-on-one. So I got to kind of give my guy Josh Eilert, who I have a ton of respect for, I don't think he made a very good decision on that. I thought he should have done more doubling on Javon. Yeah, they were ready to play, Kevin, and they were playing hard. I don't fault him for that a bit. I just thought his game plan defensively wasn't as good as it could have been. I thought he should have used what other teams have been doing successfully and been more aggressive on Javon. Daniel Sargent says Utah was given 2 timeouts when they didn't have the ball, which is a tech. Yep, good point. Eilert's mistake leaving Lovering in to make him shoot free throws was too. Yep, that's another one. Daniel, great observation. I didn't even the Lovering thing. I did not even notice. So that's a great observation by you. And yeah, the other Utah again should have had 2 technical fouls in that game because of the timeouts without having them. I think Javon Small's Big 12 player. He likely won't win the award because it'll go to a team who finishes higher in the standings. That's usually the way it works. But I do think if they had an MVP award for the Big 12 and they called it most valuable player, I don't think there's any doubt he's the most valuable player for his team than anybody out there. I mean, how can you argue that, right? He's carried this team on his back. Without Tucker DeVries, without Jaden Stone, he's been the man. Teams have had to double him, sometimes even triple him, and sometimes he still gets his double-digit in points, or he'll drop 8 or 9 or 10 assists on you. So he's carrying the team on his back. He's top 10 in the Big 12 in several different categories, top 1 or 2 in scoring. I think he definitely has to be in the conversation. But at the end of the day, I don't think he'll win it because I don't think West Virginia will finish high enough in the standings. But, man, if he did, it would be awesome. I think he'll definitely get all Big 12 first team honors, Kevin. You're exactly right. Exactly right. If you're watching this on X, by the way, I forgot to give you guys a shout out. I appreciate you, first of all. You're watching this on my Couz 206 X account, Twitter account. If you don't mind, once the show's over, please come over to Hoops from the Hills on YouTube and subscribe over there. That's where you can get all my West Virginia basketball content all season long, and I'll obviously be covering the team through the postseason. I'm hoping to cover the women's team a little bit more here during the postseason, but I'm not going to make any promises because time is limited. And I have quite a few things on my plate, but I'm going to make an effort to do that, hopefully. But I will definitely cover the men's team throughout the postseason. And any off-season news that drops, I'll drop it. Daniel Sargent says to him, it should be small to get the Big 12 Player of the Year award. If not, it should be Keyshawn Hall of UCF. I definitely don't think he'll win it, even though he's a great player, because, again, UCF's going to be one of the worst teams in the league. And, they just don't give – I don't necessarily agree with it because it's an individual award, but they usually give it to teams who finish higher in the standings. Phil Nestor in the house says the game was more physical than any playground game that I've ever seen. It was definitely physical, but that's what I think that plays into West Virginia's hands a little bit, as long as they don't get too many fouls called against them. John Kelly said Utah had 99 points last game. That's a great observation, John. I think I mentioned that maybe in an article I wrote over on my website, which, by the way, should be live here in the next couple of days. I mentioned that they had their highest scoring output of the season, actually, in their last game. So that's a great point, John Kelly. And it was against a Big 12 team, mind you. So it's not like they were playing, a grade school team. Hall is legit averaging 18-9, best in Big 12. Yeah, I mean, he and Javon definitely both deserve it, but I just don't think either one will win it because of, like I said, where they're going to finish in the standings. Their teams will. Listen, I'm going to jump off here. It's 12 o'clock a.m. here on the East. I've got to get into bed. I have to work tomorrow. I have to get up and take my daughter to school as well. So I'm going to jump off here. Remind you to please, before you leave, though, do me a favor. Please hit the like button, whether you're watching this live or watching this on the playback. Please hit that thumbs up button. It really helps the algorithm. I want this channel to grow and get out to more people. So please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Help me get to my get my subscriber count up. And please drop a comment below if you're watching this on the replay. I would much appreciate it. Thanks to all of you who hopped in the chat tonight. Thanks to all of you who were watching on the replay as well. 316 people in here between Twitter and YouTube. It's an awesome showing. Big win for the Mountaineers. They should have solidified their spot in the NCAA tournament. They can definitely do that, in my opinion, if they go out and beat UCF on Saturday. Again, Javon Small, 18 points. Joe Yesufu with 12. Jonathan Powell with 10. And Amani Hansberry with 12. Really good game tonight for the Mountaineers. A good team win. Congrats to Coach DeVries and the guys. I'm going to call it a night. Thanks to you all again. Another shout out to my new sponsor here, Appalachia Digital. Check them out if you're looking for someone to take care of your website or build your website or just help you get noticed on your website. Reach out to Appalachia Digital today and tell them Couz sent you. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great night or a great day if you're watching the replay. Hope you stay blessed and Q Country Roads. Want to end with that comment right there. Great comment, Timothy.